Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something I think a lot of us struggle with, learning a new language as an adult.
Mm-hmm. It feels like this huge mountain to climb, doesn't it?
Totally. And you hear all the time, oh, my brain's too old, or, I just don't have the language gene.
Right, those common beliefs. But the research we've looked at paints a very different picture.
It really does.
Yeah.
It suggests the issue isn't really us, our capability, but the methods we've been using,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe the methods we were taught in school.
Exactly. Often outdated, often ineffective methods, that's the core issue.
So that's what we want to do today. Take all this science, all this research, and distill it down. What's a functional system? Something that actually fits into a busy modern life.
A system based on how memory really works, not how we think it works. It's about shifting the whole paradigm.
Yeah, because the typical experience, especially for Americans, is, well, failure, right? Years of high school French, and you still can't order coffee.
It's almost a cliche, but it's rooted in historical reality. For a long time, English was so dominant globally, Americans just didn't need other languages.
And the teaching. Oh, boy.
Often, yeah, pretty workless for actual communication, lots of grammar drills, maybe memorizing lists, but not speaking.
So if you took 4 years of Spanish and felt like you got nothing out of it, maybe it wasn't you.
Very likely it was the curriculum. The goal wasn't fluency, it was often just, passing the test.
This leads to that big myth. Languages are hard,
Hmm.
especially for adults.
But think about it. Every child learns the language spoken around them, no matter how complex linguists might classify it. Kids don't find Finnish inherently harder than Spanish if they grow up hearing it.
So the capability is there, it's just buried under adult life constraints. Time, mostly.
Time, yes, but also finding the right path. A method that works with the adult brain and within a busy schedule. That's the challenge we're tackling.
And the goal isn't just knowing words, it's automaticity. Is that the term?
Exactly. Automaticity. Think about, say, a skilled fencer. They learn rules, stances, parries, tons of theory.
Right, loads of conscious effort at first.
But in a real match, they're not thinking, okay, rule 7B applies here. Their arm just moves. It's automatic, instinctive.
That's what we want with language. Hear something, understand it, and respond without that mental translation step.
Precisely. No lag. Just seamless communication where the right words and grammar just emerge.
Okay, so how do we get there? You mentioned a system.
We've synthesized the research into what we're calling the multiple track attack. It's a framework with 4 main pillars.
All right, let's preview those. What are the components?
Okay, first, the multiple track attack itself. This means hitting vocabulary, sound, and grammar all at once, not sequentially like in old textbooks, never relying on just one thing.
Makes sense. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Second, harnessing hidden moments. Finding those little pockets of dead time in your day, waiting, commuting, and turning them into productive study time.
Okay, efficiency? I like that. What's third?
Third is something really powerful, Harry Lorraine's magic memory aid. This is about using vivid, sometimes crazy mental images to lock words in instantly, instead of dull repetition.
Magic memory. Intriguing. And the last one.
Finally, the plunge. This is about forcing yourself to actually use the language actively, messily, as soon as possible, speaking and writing, even when you feel you're not ready.
So multiple tracks, hidden moments, memory tricks, and just jumping in.
That's the core. It's not about magically finding more hours in the day. It's about making the time you do have incredibly effective, igniting what you learn so it catches and spreads. Unevenly, maybe, but surely.
Okay, let's dig into the why. Why do those traditional methods, especially rote repetition, fail so spectacularly? We need to understand the memory mechanics first, right?
Absolutely. If you don't grasp why just reading a list 10 times doesn't work, you'll just keep doing it. It fails because of the physical nature of memory.
It's not like a computer file stored in one spot.
Exactly. Scientists spent years trying to find the memory cell. There were these kind of grim experiments back in the 40s and 50s.
Oh, with the rats and mazes.
Yeah. They'd teach rats a maze, then remove parts of their brain trying to cut out the memory. But the rats, they never completely forgot. A bit fuzzier, maybe, but the core memory remained.
Which led to the big discovery.
That memory isn't in one cell or even one small area. It's in the wiring, the connections between neurons, billions of them forming vast networks.
Ah, the old Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together, wire together.
Precisely. When you learned apple as a kid, it wasn't a single apple neuron. It was this huge web. The sight, the sound of the crunch, the taste, the smell, the word itself, maybe the feeling of getting one as a treat.
All firing together, creating a strong, interconnected concept.
That web is the memory. Now picture a foreign word you've never encountered, like mudor, Icelandic for mead.
Okay, your sounds strange.
Exactly. It arrives in your brain totally alone. No pictures, no smells, no taste, no existing connections, just
Right.
sound, letters.
And the brain has a filter for that kind of stuff.
A very efficient one. Its job is to save energy by ignoring meaningless input. How does it know Miodura is important language data, but, say, the chemical name disodium phosphate on a food label is junk?
It doesn't. So
Yeah.
out they both go.
Pretty much, unless you give it a reason to keep it. And this directly explains why reading a vocab list over and over is so ineffective.
Because you're just practicing reading it, not pulling it back out.
You nailed it. You practice recognizing it on the page. You're not practicing recalling it when you actually need it in conversation or writing.
That makes so much sense. So practice needs to involve retrieval.
Active recall, that's the game changer. The research here is just stark. Things like flashcards, the kind where you hide the answer and force yourself to remember.
Or trying to just write down everything you know about a topic on a blank page.
Yes, or quizzes. Anything that forces your brain to retrieve the information, not just passively review it, it's way more effective. There's even a ratio cited.
The 5.1 benefit?
That's the one. 5 minutes spent testing yourself, trying to recall, is as beneficial as 25 minutes just rerouting. 5 times more effective.
Wow. Okay, that alone is huge for anyone short on time. So recall is king. What about when we recall?
Now we get to the really fascinating part, the power of almost forgetting. This comes from the work of Hermann Ebbinghaus, a German psychologist back in 1885.
The guy who tortured himself memorizing nonsense syllables.
That's him. Guff, rill, zick, nish. Thousands of them. He did it to scientifically plot how quickly we forget things. His forgetting curve is famous.
So that steep drop off pretty fast, right? Like 50% gone in an hour if you don't reinforce it.
Exactly. But the truly revolutionary part wasn't just that we forget, but the optimal timing for reinforcement.
You'd think reviewing the stuff you remember easily would be best, right? Strengthen the strong memories.
Intuitively, yes. But Ebbinghaus found the opposite. The words he recalled instantly. Those were actually the most likely to be forgotten later.
Seriously. So the easy ones are weak.
In a way, yes. The memories that became truly durable, deeply etched, were the ones that were hard to recall. The ones he really had to struggle for.
The tip of your tongue moment. When you know it, but it just won't come.
That precise moment of struggle, that's the sweet spot. When a word is right there, almost forgotten, requiring real effort to retrieve that memory, once recalled, is 75% more likely to stick long term.
75%? That's massive.
It doubles the retention compared to easily recalled words. That moment of near forgetting, when the neural network is about to decay, is the perfect time to reactivate it, strengthening the connections.
Okay, so find the moment just before you forget and review then. But how do you possibly track that for hundreds or thousands of words?
You don't, manually. That's where technology comes in. This principle is the bedrock of space repetition systems, or SRSs. Think programs like Anki.
Right, people call those flashcards on steroids.
It's a good description. They basically automate the Ebbinghaus curve for you. You learn a word, put it in the system. When it comes up for review, you tell the software how hard it was to recall. Easy, good, or hard.
And based on that feedback?
The algorithm calculates the optimal time to show you that specific card again. If it was hard, you'll see it again soon. If it was easy, it might push it weeks or months into the future.
So it forces you to focus your effort on the stuff you're about to forget. Maximum efficiency.
Exactly. It drives information into long-term memory by hitting that almost forgotten sweet spot over and over with minimal wasted time on things you already know cold.
Okay, SRS is essential. But there's another big procedural flaw you mentioned, the translation trap. We have to follow the rule, don't translate.
This is maybe the single biggest mistake in traditional learning, the fatal flaw.
But how? If I'm learning Spanish and agado, my English brain immediately thinks cat. It feels automatic, unavoidable.
It does feel automatic because that's how we were likely taught or how we naturally approach it as adults. We drilled cat gato.
Creating a link between the two words.
Yes, but it's an indirect link. You see gato, your brain retrieves cat. Then it retrieves the concept of the furry animal. It's a 3-step process.
And that's slow. Too slow for conversation.
Way too slow. We want to cut out the middleman. See gato, immediately access the concept of the cat. 2 steps. Direct connection.
How do we force that direct connection, though?
By leveraging the levels of processing in memory. Think of it like depth. Memorizing the structure, the letters, the spelling, that's shallow.
Okay.
Memorizing the sound through rote repetition, like chanting cat gatto, that's a bit deeper, but the deepest, most durable level.
The concept level.
Exactly. Binding the foreign word directly to its meaning, its essence, bypassing English entirely.
And the shortcut to the concept level is
The
pictures.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Our visual memory is astonishingly powerful. There was this study, students were shown like 612 magazine ads, just briefly. Later, in a test forcing them to choose between an ad they'd seen and a new one, they were correct 98.5% of the time. Another study, 10,000 images shown. Over 5 days, they recognized 83% later.
Wow. We are visual creatures.
Absolutely. So instead of a flashcard with gatto on one side and cat on the
You
other.
put gatto on one side and a picture of a cat on the other.
Exactly. A clear, good quality image. This forces your brain to process the meaning, the concept, directly. It immediately lifts the word out of that meaningless sounds category, like disodium phosphate, and puts it into real thing I can picture territory.
And you mentioned making it personal adds another layer.
Oh, definitely. Connection is key. An image is good, but an image tied to your experience, even better. So for Gatto, maybe it's not just any cat picture, but a picture of your cat, or a cat from a meme you found hilarious.
So word plus image plus personal connection.
That's the trifecta. Each element activates more neural networks. The image is the wire, the personal link is the electricity. It makes the memory exponentially stronger, more robust. It's not just a flimsy sound link anymore. It's a multi-lane highway in your brain.
Right. Memory systems are getting tinned up. We're using images, focusing on recall. But what about actually sounding like we know the language? Pronunciation seems critical to tackle early.
Critically important. Possibly the first thing you should focus on, even before vocabulary deep dives.
Why so early? Can't we just fix it later?
You can, but it's so much harder. Think about it. If you wait months to work on your accent, you've already practiced saying every word you know incorrectly hundreds, maybe thousands of times.
Ouch. Ingraining bad habits.
Exactly. And unlearning a physical motor habit, how your tongue moves for a French R, or the aspiration on a German K, is way more difficult than learning it right the first time.
Is that where the 12-year cap idea comes from? That you can't get a native accent after puberty?
That's a big part of it. The idea itself is largely a myth. Actors, singers, linguists master new accents all the time as adults, but they make pronunciation a priority from day one. If you don't, you create what's called the broken word problem.
Broken word. What's that?
It's the mismatch between the word as you learned it by reading and the word as it's actually spoken by natives. It breaks comprehension.
Give me an example.
Okay, classic case.
Mm-hmm.
A student learning French, brilliant on paper, could write complex essays, knew all about 17th century philosophy.
Sounds pretty advanced.
Totally. But then she joins a discussion group and everyone's talking about the ideas of Descartes, and she's completely lost.
Because she learned René Descartes.
Pronouncing it in her head with an English accent, like Descartes is probably sounding out that silent es and es. She never connected the written form to the correct French sound, Descartes.
So when she heard the right pronunciation, her brain treated it like a totally new, unfamiliar word.
Exactly. And imagine that problem multiplied by hundreds of words with silent letters, unfamiliar vowel sounds, weird liaisons. It cripples listening comprehension.
And there's a social side effect, too, isn't there, having a really strong accent?
Definitely. It's unfortunate, but research shows people often subconsciously judge someone with a thick, non-native accent as less intelligent or capable than they are.
That's harsh.
It is, and it leads to this frustrating loop. If you're learning, say, Spanish from English speakers, they might just switch to English because it's easier for them, even if you want to practice.
Depriving you of the very input you need. Vicious cycle.
Precisely. So tackling pronunciation head on, right at the start, breaks that cycle and builds a solid foundation.
Okay, so what are the tools? How do we actually do this early accent work?
Tool number 1, the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA. It seems intimidating, maybe, but it's the great equalizer.
How does it help?
It bypasses the confusion of native spelling rules. Think about English, though. Through tough, bow, terrible. Or seeing a French word like bonjour, and your English brain wants to say bon, J-U-R-E.
Right. Imposing our rules onto their words.
The IPA gives you a universal code. Each symbol represents one specific sound, regardless of language or spelling. So you see the IPA for bonjour, and it tells you exactly how it sounds, removing the guesswork.
And for words like listen in English, where the spelling lies to you about the T.
The IPA transcription list shows you clearly no T sound. It forces you to deal with the sound, not just the letters.
It also makes you aware of sounds that don't even exist in English, right? Like a rolled R or certain vowel sounds.
Absolutely. The IPA chart shows you where in the mouth a sound is made: lips, teeth, throat, tongue position. You can see, that French U sound is made with rounded lips, but the tongue forward, like I'm saying E. It makes the physical production explicit.
Building muscle memory for your mouth.
Exactly, like a musician learning scales. You isolate the difficult parts and practice them, which leads to the next technique.
Tongue tricks, like back chaining.
Yes, backchaining is an old singer's trick, brilliant for tackling long words or tricky consonant clusters.
How does it work? You start at the end.
You start at the end. Take that famous Czech tongue twister. Stretch per skr. Stick your finger through your throat. Looks impossible.
Yeah, trying that cold. Disaster.
But using backchaining, first just practice the last bit. Kirk, throat. Get that smooth.
Okay.
Then add the next sound back. Skrs, kirk. Practice that until it flows.
Skrs kirk.
And skr.
Getting harder.
Finally, stretch prisrik kirk. By belling it backwards, you master the end first. Each time you add a syllable, the rest of the phrase is already practiced, almost automatic. Your focus is only on the newest, trickiest part at the beginning.
So you're always finishing strong.
Exactly. It puts the end of the word on autopilot. Super effective.
So the overall strategy is use IPA, find recordings of native speakers, like on Forvo.com or language learning apps, and use backchaining for tough spots.
And integrate this immediately. Spend the first few days just building basic pronunciation awareness. Maybe make simple flashcards.
What kind of flashcards?
2 types, mainly. One card shows a common spelling pattern, like French O or German I, and its IPA sound. The other card shows just the IPA sound and maybe a keyword, forcing you to produce that sound correctly.
So you're actively training both recognition and production of the core sounds.
Right. Nail this down in the first week. It seems like a detour, but it saves hundreds of hours of remedial work later. It's foundational.
Foundation laid. Ears and mouth are getting wired correctly. Now let's feed the beast. Vocabulary, where do we start? Just open a dictionary.
Please no, that's horribly inefficient. We need strategy. Start with frequency lists.
Lists of the most common words in the language.
Exactly. Every language has words that are used far more often than others. Articles, prepositions, basic verbs, core nouns, while the exact top 1,000 might differ slightly based on context.
Like maybe snowmobile is high frequency in Finnish, but not Spanish.
Right. But the core functional vocabulary has huge overlap across most languages. Starting there gives you the biggest bang for your buck early on.
And there's a specific target number often recommended. The first 625 words.
Yes, that list is particularly well designed. It's not just about frequency, it's about concreteness.
Meaning words that are easy to picture.
Exactly. Dog, car, city, eat, blue, fast. These are words that are easy to represent with an image, which, as we discussed, is crucial.
Because it lets you use picture flashcards immediately, bypassing English translation from day one.
Precisely. You're building that direct concept link for the most useful foundational words right away. It gets you thinking in the language faster.
And avoids that weird situation like the opera singer.
Ah, yes, the cautionary tale. This guy shows up for a Russian immersion program. Super smart, really motivated.
Spent months studying a frequency dictionary.
Diligently memorized the top 1,000 words or so. His entrance essay. A masterpiece. 4 pages ranting about, like, government policy, media bias, complex, abstract stuff. They put him straight into the advanced class.
Impressive start.
Totally. Then came the first assignment. Write a simple shopping list.
Oh.
Complete disaster. He knew oligarchy and societal decay, but not cucumber or milk. His list was basically need meat, much meat, all meat good, also beer, vodka, wine, many bottles.
Because he'd skipped the basic visual everyday words.
Exactly. He went straight for the abstract, high-frequency academic words. The 625 list prevents that. It grounds you in concrete reality first.
Okay, so start with the 625, use pictures.
Yeah.
But just seeing a picture isn't always enough for the word to stick, right? We need that deeper connection.
Right. We need to move beyond just recognizing the picture and create deep multisensory memories. This is where the magic memory aid technique comes in, specifically mnemonic imagery.
The crazy mental pictures.
The crazier, the better, often. The goal is to instantly forge a strong link between the word's sound, its spelling, its meaning, and ideally a personal connection. And gender, if the language has it.
So how does it work? Give me an example.
Okay, let's take the Spanish word for old, which is viejo. pronounced roughly V-E-H-ho.
Got it. Viejo.
Now, you need to link that sound V-H-ho to the concept old. Rote repetition is slow. Instead, create a vivid, bizarre image. Imagine a really, really run-down VA hospital. It's incredibly old, falling apart.
Okay, VA hospital. Old.
And it's so decrepit they have to knock it over with a giant hoe.
A VA hospital knocked over with a hoe. That's memorable.
It is. The image connects VA plus hoe, the sound V-E-H-O, to the concept old. It's a temporary mental crutch.
Another one, maybe French.
Sure. French for anger is colère, pronounced colère.
Colère. Okay.
Anger usually feels hot, right? Red faces, steam. So for a memorable contrast, imagine someone absolutely furious, radiating anger. But instead of heat, they're blasting out freezing cold air.
Cold air. Colère. Anger. Oh, okay. I see how the sound and meaning get linked through the weird image.
And the weirder, funnier, more emotional, or even slightly vulgar the image, the better it often sticks. Our brains are wired to remember things that are unusual or emotionally charged.
But am I going to be stuck thinking about VA hospitals and hoes every time I want to say old in Spanish? That seems inefficient, too.
That's the magic part. The elaborate mnemonic story, the crutch, it falls away surprisingly quickly. Usually after just a few successful recalls of the word in context, the crazy image fades.
Leaving just the direct link, Viejo's old.
Exactly. The mnemonic's job is just to get the words securely into your memory quickly and strongly. Once it's there and being used, the scaffolding isn't needed anymore.
Okay, that makes sense. What about grammatical gender? That trips up so many English speakers learning languages like French, German, Spanish.
Oh, the bane of existence. Why is table feminine in French, la table, but masculine in German, they're tisch? It's often completely arbitrary, nonsensical.
And just memorizing la, le, di, das for every noun is tedious and prone to error.
Terribly inefficient. Your brain hates arbitrary data, so we need to apply mnemonics here too, make it non-arbitrary.
Oh. Assign genders personalities?
Sort of. You assign each gender masculine, feminine, neuter, a specific, highly memorable, often violent or sensory action, something really vivid.
Like what?
It's totally personal, you choose, but make them distinct and impactful. For example, maybe all masculine nouns explode violently, all feminine nouns get covered in sticky pink goo, all neuter nouns shatter into a million tiny pieces.
Whoa. Okay, so exploding, goo-covered, shattering, vivid, check.
Then every time you learn a new noun, you force yourself to vividly imagine that noun performing its gender's assigned action.
So if sun, le soleil, is masculine in French, I imagine the sun exploding.
Violently, bits of sun everywhere. If maiden, das Mädchen, is bizarrely neuter in German, you picture the poor maiden shattering into glass shards.
That sounds slightly disturbing.
A little. But that's why it works. It ties the abstract, boring, grammatical rule gender to a concrete, memorable, emotionally charged image. Your brain remembers the explosion or the shattering much better than it remembers an arbitrary lay or das.
And after doing this for a few hundred nouns,
The explicit images fade just like the vocabulary mnemonics. The gender just starts to feel right. It becomes automatic, bypassing the need for the crazy image lookup. You've tricked your brain into internalizing the pattern.
okay, vocabulary is flooding in thanks to pictures and mnemonics. Genders are exploding and shattering. Now, grammar, the big G. This is where many people hit a wall.
It feels like a wall for sure. All those charts, rules, exceptions. But the first thing to remember is that your inner language machine, the one you used as a kid, it never actually turned off.
We still have that innate ability to acquire language.
Absolutely. Adults learn differently. Yes, we have interference from our native language, less time, more inhibitions, but the core mechanism is still there. The real difference is input.
Kids just get thousands and thousands of hours.
Tens of thousands in their first few years. Non-stop immersion. Compare that to a typical adult class, maybe 100 hours a year. And a lot of that is often spent talking about the language in English, not actually using it.
And the machine needs fuel, but it needs the right kind of fuel.
Exactly. It needs comprehensible input. You have to understand the meaning of what you're hearing or reading. Just drilling verb conjugations in isolation. Boring. Doesn't stick. Doesn't feel like real communication.
But understanding a sentence, even a simple one,
That feeds the machine. It starts recognizing patterns subconsciously. This means we need to reframe how we see the grammar book,
not as a list of rules to memorize.
but as a gold mine, a source of simple, well-structured, already translated example sentences and short dialogues.
Ah, those little sentences they always have after explaining a rule.
Those are pure gold. Take a simple example sentence used to illustrate, say, the past tense. Maybe it's, she ate her sister's birthday cake.
Okay, simple enough.
Don't just nod and move on. Mind that sentence for everything it contains. Break it down for your flashcards.
How? What do you pull out?
You get multiple learning opportunities from that one sentence. First, maybe cake is a new vocabulary word for you. Card 1.
Okay. Word plus picture of cake.
Second, the verb form ate. It's the irregular past tense of eat. Card 2, maybe with the sentence itself or a simplified version.
Right, capturing the new form.
Third, the word order. Subject, verb, object, possessive noun phrase. You make a card testing your ability to reconstruct that order, maybe with blanks to fill in. Card 3.
Getting the syntax.
Fourth, the possessive form, sisters. How does this language show possession? Card 4. You've turned one simple sentence into 4 or 5, maybe more distinct, memorable, contextualized facts.
All linked to that mental image of the sister, the cake. Makes it much stickier than just a grammar rule.
Infinitely stickier, and you start to notice patterns. You effectively end up in a race with your grammar book.
How so?
By processing these example sentences deeply, you'll often subconsciously internalize grammar concepts, like possessives or basic word order, before the book formally introduces them in a later chapter. You've already learned it from context.
So you're acquiring the grammar organically through comprehensible input rather than just memorizing abstract rules.
Exactly. Grammar boils down to just 3 basic operations, really. Adding words, like making questions, changing word forms, verbs, nouns, and changing word order. Seeing these happen over and over in simple, meaningful sentences is how your internal language machine learns best.
Okay, that works for simpler structures.
Mhm.
But what about the scary stuff? Like those huge verb conjugation charts? French has what, like 65 forms for one verb? Or irregular verbs that break all the rules?
Yeah, that imposing massive data can be daunting. That's where we need to apply mnemonics directly to the grammar itself.
How? Make mnemonics for verb endings.
You can, but even simpler is just making the abstract concrete. If the book gives you a basic pattern like I am a student and a verb chart, don't just stare at the chart.
Use it to create more sentences.
Yes, but make them visual. Turn I am a student into she is a doctor, using the she form from the chart. Or they are hungry, using the they form. Create vivid mental images for those sentences and put them on your flashcards.
So you're linking the abstract grammar form directly to a concrete visual scenario.
Exactly. Now, for the really tricky stuff, the irregular patterns, the verbs that just refuse to follow the rules, we can borrow a heavy-duty technique from competitive memory athletes.
Oh boy. This sounds complex. The person-action-object PAO system.
It sounds more complex than it is to use, especially for just nailing down those annoying exceptions. Remember, the brain struggles with arbitrary rules, but loves memorable exceptions.
Okay, so I'm not using this for every verb, just the weird ones.
Exactly. Regular patterns you'll pick up through exposure and the sentence mining we talked about. PAO is for the rule breakers that constantly trip you up.
How does it work? Pick a person.
You assign a specific, memorable person to represent a specific irregular pattern. Let's say you choose, I don't know, Patrick Stewart. Sir Patrick Stewart now represents all verbs that follow a particular weird conjugation in, say, the future tense. Or maybe he represents all masculine nouns that take a feminine article for some reason.
Okay, so Patrick Stewart, weird future tense pattern X.
Right. Now, every time you encounter a new verb that follows that specific weird pattern, you create a quick, vivid mental image of Patrick Stewart performing the action of that verb, probably in a funny or dramatic way.
So if the irregular verb means to leave, and it follows the Stewart pattern.
You vividly imagine Patrick Stewart dramatically trying to leave the stage right in the middle of performing Shakespeare. To beam out or not to beam out.
Huh. Okay, I get it. You're attaching the abstract pattern, weird future tense X, to a concrete image, Patrick Stewart leaving.
Exactly. You learn the pattern once, associate it with your mnemonic person, and then quickly link every new word belonging to that pattern to that same person. Instead of drilling dozens of abstract forms for multiple verbs, you're just recalling Captain Picard doing something silly.
It turns rote memorization of exceptions into a creative visual game.
Precisely. It makes the confusing parts fun, memorable, and acknowledges that language isn't always logical. It's human, it's messy, and mnemonics help us embrace that messiness efficiently.
Okay, we've got input covered. Memory, sound, vocab, grammar patterns. But knowing about a language isn't the same as using it. We need to transition to output. This is the plunge.
This is the plunge, moving from passively absorbing information to actively creating with the language. And the first step, often overlooked, is self-directed writing and correction.
Writing. Why writing before speaking?
Writing is like the proving ground. It's lower pressure than speaking. You have time to think, to look things up, but it forces you to construct sentences using the knowledge you've stored.
It reveals the gaps.
Exactly. It shows you precisely which words you're missing, which grammar structures you haven't quite grasped. The goal isn't to write perfect prose from day one.
The goal is to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That sounds wrong.
Counterintuitive, I know. But mistakes made during active construction are incredibly valuable learning opportunities. If you try to write about your weekend plans and realize you don't know the future tense of to go or the word for beach,
That creates a very specific, personalized need in your brain, a gap that wants to be filled.
precisely. And when you look up that specific word or rule because you needed it, it sticks like glue. Way better than just encountering it passively in a textbook.
So write quickly. Don't obsess over perfection. Embrace the mistakes. Then what?
Then get it corrected. This is where online language exchange communities are absolute gold.
Places like Lang8 or Italki.
Those are great examples. On Lang8, you post your writing in your target language and native speakers correct it, often just because they enjoy helping. In return, you might correct some English posts. It's a fantastic community.
And the corrections come back pretty fast.
Often surprisingly fast, yeah. Within hours sometimes. And Italki also has affordable tutors you can pay, sometimes just $1 or $2, to correct a page of writing and provide feedback.
And that corrected text, based on your own thoughts and mistakes. It's like supercharged input, right?
The best possible input you can get. It's perfectly tailored to your current level and the specific things you are trying to express.
Okay, writing is the proving ground. What about passive input while we're plunging? Keep reading and listening.
Absolutely.
Ugh.
The language machine needs constant fuel. Reading is probably the simplest, most effective way to grow your passive vocabulary.
Just read. Any tricks?
The main trick is read without a dictionary as much as possible, and read quickly. Don't stop for every single unknown word.
When I miss stuff.
You'll miss individual words, yes, but you'll gain overall comprehension from context, and crucially, you'll maintain momentum. Stopping constantly turns reading into a slow, painful vocabulary drill.
You absorb words just from context.
The research suggests you naturally pick up somewhere between 300 and 500 new words passively from context for every novel-length book you read. Your brain just figures them out.
Wow, that adds up fast. What about listening?
Pair your reading with audiobooks whenever possible. Listen while you read along.
Why both?
The audio carries you through the text faster, preventing you from getting bogged down. Plus, you're constantly absorbing the rhythm, the intonation, the sound of the language as spoken naturally, connecting it to the written words, improves pronunciation and comprehension simultaneously.
Smart. And for pure listening practice, you recommended TV and movies over news radio.
Definitely. News radio is often formal, fast, and lacks context. TV and film give you vital visual clues, facial expressions, gestures, the setting itself. It all helps you understand what's going on.
Like scaffolding for your comprehension.
Exactly. And a pro tip. Start with TV series, not movies.
Why series first?
Less mental overhead. With a series, you figure out the main characters, setting, basic plot in episode 1. After that, you can relax a bit and focus more on the language in subsequent episodes, because you already know the context. A movie requires figuring out a whole new world every time.
Makes sense. Any genres to avoid?
Probably comedy, at least initially. Jokes and puns often rely on deep cultural knowledge or wordplay that's just brutal for learners. Stick to drama, sci-fi, thrillers maybe.
And that killer trick. Read a summary beforehand.
Yes. Find a plot summary online, ideally on Wikipedia in the target language if you can manage it. Reading the summary first preloads your brain with the key vocabulary and plot points for that specific episode or film.
So when you watch, you're not scrambling to figure out what's happening. You can focus on how they're saying it.
Exactly. Frees up huge amounts of cognitive resources to just absorb the language flow.
Okay, writing, reading, listening. Now the big one. Speaking. How do we practice fluency?
The key insight here is that fluency isn't necessarily about knowing every single word. It's about being able to communicate your thoughts without stopping, even when you don't know a specific word.
Like playing the game Taboo.
Precisely like Taboo. In Taboo, you have to describe a word without using certain forbidden keywords. In language learning, the words you don't know are the forbidden words. Fluency is the skill of talking around those gaps smoothly.
Circumlocution. Using simpler words you do know to explain a complex idea or a missing noun.
That's the skill, and to practice it, you need the plunge rule for speaking. No English allowed. Zero. None.
Oof, that sounds terrifying.
It is at first, but it forces improvisation. It forces you to activate all that knowledge you've stored and actually use it creatively to get your meaning across. It trains your brain to stop relying on the English crutch.
Where can people practice this high wire act?
Online exchange platforms again. Verbling has a cool speed dating format, 5-minute chats with different partners, great for short bursts of intense taboo practice.
Less pressure than a long conversation.
Right. And then Live Mocha or italki offer options for longer sessions, either with free exchange partners or paid tutors who can guide you through conversations and give feedback.
And all this practice.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in hour-long blocks, right? We can use those hidden moments.
Absolutely crucial for adults. This is how you make progress even with a packed schedule. You reclaim tiny scraps of time.
Like when you're waiting for coffee, brushing your
Whoa.
teeth, commuting.
Exactly. Waiting in line. Flip through digital flashcards on your phone. Making breakfast. Listen to a podcast or audio lesson. Commuting. That's prime ear-only time. Put on headphones and immerse yourself.
But not just passive listening, right? Engage somehow.
Engage mentally. Listen to your grammar audio track and try to say the correct foreign phrase before the speaker does. Try shadowing, repeating what you hear just slightly after the speaker. Little mental games.
It turns you into the triumphant tortoise. Slow, maybe, but steady, consistent progress.
That's the idea. Those little moments add up incredibly fast over weeks and months. It's sustainable.
And for those who can carve out more dedicated time or want a serious boost, immersion programs. Travel.
If you have the opportunity, full immersion is like language learning boot camp. Programs like the Middlebury Language Schools in the U.S. are famous for it.
They make you sign a contract. No English allowed.
For 7 or 8 weeks straight, it's intense, constant, forced taboo practice. 247. People start dreaming in the language. It's transformative.
Wow. But even without that level of intensity, travel itself is valuable.
Hugely valuable. It connects you to the soul of the language, the culture, the food, the way people interact. You learn nuances no book can teach.
And you see different sides of people, maybe even yourself.
Definitely. I remember this colleague, very elegant, reserved French woman, but when she switched to English, she became this hilarious, sharp-tongued, almost sailor-mouthed Texan party girl.
A whole new personality emerged.
It felt like it. Language can be like a mask, or maybe a key, unlocking different aspects of who you are. You're not just learning German grammar, you're learning German ways of being direct, or French ways of showing politeness, or Italian ways of expressing passion. Hashtag tag tag outro.
We have covered so much ground. Floating nouns and verbs.
It's a comprehensive attack.
It really is. So, after putting in all this strategic effort, what's the payoff? Beyond just being able to order dinner on vacation.
Well, the practical benefits are huge, obviously, but there's a deeper payoff. Learning a language is literally strength training for your brain.
Creating the bilingual effect.
Exactly. It's a measurable cognitive boost. Think about it. When you're speaking or even just thinking in your second language, your brain is constantly working to suppress your native language.
That mental juggling act.
It strengthens your brain's executive functions, things like focus, task switching, ignoring distractions. It's like cognitive resistance training.
Like walking around with mental ankle weights. Harder at first, but makes you stronger overall.
That's a great analogy. It might feel slightly harder to think or multitask initially as your brain adjusts to managing 2 language systems, but it adapts, and the overall cognitive control that's better.
And the long-term health benefits are pretty staggering.
They really are. Multiple large studies have shown that lifelong bilingualism is associated with a significant delay in the onset of dementia and Alzheimer's disease.
How much of a delay?
On average, around 5 years later compared to monolinguals with similar education and backgrounds, that's 5 extra years of cognitive health. It's profound.
Wow. Just wow. So it's not just about communication, it's about brain health.
Long-term brain health, but maybe the most rewarding part is more personal, more immediate.
How so?
The words you learn stop being just translations. They become tied to your memories, your experiences. The Italian word gelato, it stops meaning just ice cream.
It becomes that specific pistachio gelato you had in Perugia. The coconut one by the harbor in Cinque Terre.
Exactly. It becomes your memory of that 6-week trip, that quest for the perfect flavor. The word is the experience. You build this whole separate set of memories, a distinct world inside your head associated with that language.
Creating a new mind almost, a new perspective.
You really are. You proving to yourself, tangibly, that your brain isn't fixed. It can grow, adapt, learn amazing new things no matter your age. You just needed the right tools and methods.
And that transformation, building that stronger, more connected, more global version of yourself,
Hmm.
that feels like the real prize.
It's the dearest gift, I think, knowing you built that new self with your own effort.
So the roadmap is here. The
Hmm.
science supports it. There's really no excuse, is there?
Not anymore. The first step is always the hardest, but also often the most fun, moving from thinking about it to actually doing it. We've laid out the multiple track attack. Now it's time to launch.
So let's leave our listeners with a starting point, a first action.
Okay. Your first mission, should you choose to accept it. Think about the language you want to learn. Pick one simple, concrete word. Now, what's the first vivid, maybe slightly outrageous mnemonic image you're going to create for it? Go make that connection. That's where your new language life begins.